On the night of October 1st, 2024, Israel's heavens, heaven ripped open. More than 180 ballistic missiles, each a 6-meter spear of high explosive, screamed out of Iran at supersonic speed. Radar blips multiplied, air raid sirens shattered the midnight calm. Families plunged into stairwells as thunderous detonations rattled windows across the Negev desert. Ayatollah Khamenei himself had ordered the strike. Welcome back to Pandit TV. Today, we embark on a 15-minute journey through the tangled web of history, strategy, and raw human cost that has driven this conflict to the brink of global catastrophe. First, we'll trace the overlooked April barrage that should have alerted the world. Second, we'll break down Israel's multi-layered defenses and their hidden vulnerabilities. Third, we'll peer into Tehran's evolving missile arsenal, from Shahab 3 to Fatah hypersonics. Fourth, we'll map Iran's axis of resistance and its proxy militias in Lebanon, Gaza, and Yemen. Fifth, we'll recount the year of high-profile assassinations that spurred Tehran's direct retaliation. Sixth, we'll detail America's bold midnight hammer raid on Iran's underground nuclear facilities. Seventh, we'll survey the staggering human and economic toll inflicted since October 2023. Eighth, we'll situate the standoff within the broader Gulf rivalries and global power plays. And finally, we'll conclude with a call to action, because breaking this spiral requires more than analysis. It demands your voice. The April barrage arrived before dawn on April 13th, 2024, yet it barely registered beyond military circles. Over 300 Iranian drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic rockets fired in Operation True Promise swept across the border. This was Tehran's answer to an Israeli F-35 covert strike on Damascus 12 days earlier, which killed 7 elite IRGC officers embedded with Hezbollah. By midday, the barrage was labeled contained, but the real story was buried under election noise and social media flashpoints. Israel's survival depends on 3 concentric shields. The first ring, Iron Dome, tracks short-range rockets, variants commonly launched from Gaza or southern Lebanon, up to 70 kilometers out and 10 kilometers high. Tamir interceptors boast a 60 to 90% success rate against in-flight warheads, but each round costs about 50,000, a figure that balloons rapidly under sustained attack. The second ring, David's Sling, covers medium-range threats out to 300 kilometers, protecting against modified Scuds and cruise missiles. Each interceptor rings in at roughly $1 million. Beyond them looms Arrow 3, a near-space guardian capable of exo-atmospheric intercepts up to 2,400 kilometers from launch and 100 kilometers in altitude. Meanwhile, Iran was upgrading its offensive arsenal. The reliable Shahab 3 ballistic missile, already capable of 2,000-kilometer flights, provided years of strategic deterrence. But in mid-2023, Tehran unveiled the Fatah hypersonic missile, a true game-changer, traveling at Mach 15, maneuvering mid-course and reaching Israeli targets within minutes of launch. At that speed, Israel's arrow batteries have mere seconds to detect, calculate, and fire back, a window that shrinks with every new hypersonic test. Tehran rarely fights alone, instead projecting power through an axis of resistance, a network of militant proxies refined over decades. Hezbollah in Lebanon alone fields more rockets than many national armies. Commanded by battle-hardened cadres who routined joint exercises with IRGC advisors in Syria. In Yemen, the Houthis have evolved from isolated rebels into seaborne pirates, lobbing anti-ship missiles into the Red Sea, forcing container vessels to detour around Africa, adding an estimated $1.25 trillion in global shipping costs and stoking inflation from Rotterdam to Shanghai. These proxies enable Iran to strike from multiple fronts, insulate its own territory from immediate reprisal, and maintain diplomatic ambiguity. But when Tehran elected to fire missiles in April and October, It signaled a willingness to abandon plausible deniability and face Israel head-on. Throughout 2024, a grim calendar of assassinations and sabotage underscored the turn toward kinetic escalation. On July 31st, Ismail Haniyeh, the Hamas political chief, was killed in Tehran in what security experts called a classic covert operation. No one claimed credit, but Israel's fingerprints were evident. On September 17th, several Hezbollah field officers died when their encrypted pagers detonated in their hands, an unsettling new chapter in assassination tradecraft. On September 20th and 25th, Hezbollah's Special Operations Commander and its senior missile unit leader were each eliminated by remote strikes. Then, on September 27th, Israeli jets punched deep into the Bekaa Valley, killing IRGC Brigadier General Abbas Nilfaroshan and delivering the most symbolic blow, the death of Hassan Nasrallah, Hezbollah's Secretary General since 1992. 4 days later, Iran's missiles answered the question of who would strike first. Even with the October missile wave, civilian casualties were surprisingly low. Israeli shelters and early warnings saved many lives. And the only confirmed non-combat death was a Palestinian in the West Bank. Yet for every life spared, another interceptor cost Israel's treasury millions, and each crater outside a hardened bunker chipped away at the sense of invulnerability. Former President Donald Trump, eager to demonstrate deterrence, ordered Operation Midnight Hammer. On June 22nd, 7 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers launched from Guam and Diego Garcia, refueling twice en route. They penetrated Iran's airspace under layers of electronic countermeasures and dropped GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators that pulverized 200-meter-deep underground vaults holding uranium centrifuges. Pentagon officials described the single largest strategic blow to a nuclear program in history, though leaked DIA assessments warned Iran could restore enrichment within 12 months. Tehran's retaliatory salvo, an intercepted barrage fired at Al Udeid Air Base, was as symbolic as it was ineffectual. A ceasefire was declared on June 25th, brokered by US and Gulf mediators, but both sides declared victory and vowed to rebuild stronger than before. In Lebanon, Israeli strikes in late 2024 claimed nearly 1,000 lives and forced tens of thousands to flee border towns. The Red Sea detours and insurance surcharges have drained $1.25 trillion from global trade, driving up food and energy prices worldwide by 25 to 30%. Health systems buckle under the weight of war injuries, and mental health crises flourish in the rubble. Geopolitically, the conflict is a chessboard of ancient rivalries and modern alliances. Saudi Arabia and Iran wage a silent sectarian Cold War via proxy armies from Baghdad to Beirut. The United States and European Union largely back Israel and Riyadh. Russia and China lean toward Tehran for discounted oil and strategic leverage in the Indian Ocean. India maintains a careful neutrality, condemning civilian harm while urging dialogue, airlifting its citizens from hotspots and balancing its own energy needs. Why does this spiral persist? Because assassinations beget retaliation. Proxy rockets demand counterattacks. Parties cling to the logic of deterrence even as it nibbles at their budgets and souls. The United Nations passes resolutions, but militant cells operate under local warlords who answer to neither diplomat nor global court. As Mahatma Gandhi warned, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Yet the cycle of revenge rolls on, unbroken, heedless, and ever tilted toward the next explosion. Looking ahead, analysts see three possible paths. First, managed escalation. A grim stalemate of periodic skirmishes, expensive but contained. Second, a flash cascade. One misinterpreted radar blip triggers mass salvos. Oil fields ignite. regional powers dive in, and global markets convulse. Third, a hard freeze diplomatic accord. Tehran freezes enrichment. Jerusalem halts covert hits. Gulf states guarantee shipping lanes and proxy armies stand down. A rare path, but the only one that saves both lives and economies. Tonight, the fuse still hisses. Desert winds over the Negev carry the faint smell of rocket fuel. Tehran generals pore over satellite blasts. On cargo ships rerouted around Africa, captains curse a war they can't even see. One misstep, one misread signal could ignite a larger blaze. This has been Pandit TV. If you refuse to let missiles write tomorrow's history, let your voice be heard today. Like this video, subscribe for clear-eyed analysis, and leave a comment for peace. Because in the shadow of war's thunder, words spoken in time may yet staunch the next crimson tide.